Welcome to the fourth installment of realiTV. I am your hard-working, disabled American host. It is a pleasure to join you once again. Thank you for watching as we continue to spread the word about what folks in our condition go through. As you can tell, I have my beautiful Boston Red Sox jersey on. They have the best record in baseball right now as we record this. Who knows how long that's going to last, but hey, it's better than a 69-win season that they had last year. The news continues to pile up. The news is not good. Another denial from Social Security disability, and I have had it. This video is going to go near, it's going to go far. When I make my appeal to Social Security disability, I am going to include, with the letter, I'm going to include a copy of this on DVD, and this is also going to go to the news stations in the Boston area, that being WBZ Channel 4, WHDH Channel 7, WCVB Channel 5, Fox, so on and so forth, because this is ridiculous. And instead of what I believe in my own personal perception, in that the government wants to try and make people just give up instead of going on these sometimes years long battles, this person is not giving up. I'm like herpes. You don't want me, but I come and I don't go away. So nonetheless, I am a personal STD. But why am I angry about this? Well, I'm angry about everything. First of all, it's been nice. I was just talking to my partner in crime, Unique, about this. 9 years I've been dealing with this, and I'm tired of it. I'm in pain. I need to get well. I need to be given the benefits that are entitled to disabled Americans, not the illegal aliens, not the women that choose to have 45 kids with all kinds of different fathers, I should say, not spouses. I'm tired of it. It's a fight that never ends, and it's been my fight for far too long. So today, I am going to share a little bit of my story to maybe explain to you why I may be so aggravated. And on the screen will be a graphic. You can read along if you are maybe hearing impaired. Again, the links to our social media will be up throughout the day. We continue to make new friends all over the world, which is kind of cool. But we want more folks in the Boston area to know about this, read about this, watch it, listen to it, share it, like it on Facebook to get more people into it. It's a movement. We're standing up and fighting the good fight. I don't think the government has any ill will towards us, but they're overworked and they're denying the wrong people. I deserve these benefits. Right now, you could send me to any doctor that's not on someone's payroll, and they could not say that I'm physically capable of working. I need help. I need health insurance. I need some kind of an income to live until I get there again. Again, I'm not looking for the lifetime free pass like some of the scum are. I just need it until I'm healthy enough to be a productive person again, and my taxes can go to pay for those that don't deserve it. Again, a different story for a different time. But let's get into my own history. As my life was improving and beginning to come to a good place, in the summer of 2005, I applied to a place I wound up working, there goes my cane, a multi-billion-dollar media company that you would know off the top of your lips. I was hired. I was on the top of Cloud 9 with the new little one in my world. And the day after I was hired, coming back from a church fundraiser in southern Massachusetts, I was blown up by a drunk driver, an idiot a year younger than me, who I don't believe woke up that morning intending to try and maim people and ruin their lives, but nonetheless he did. He went across 4 lanes of empty highway traffic at about 1:30 in the morning, doing over 90 miles an hour. Hit us so hard he flipped over the SUV we were in, and rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled. And luckily the SUV I was in stopped, or we would have driven into the pickup truck the drunk was in, and we would have been in flames and probably not having this program right now, which I'm sure many in the world of insurance would enjoy. Once I was healthy enough, and this was, my gosh, a little over a year later, I spent 7 months, 3 days a week at Spalding Rehab, trying to get my body back into some kind of a working routine again. And while it was a physical challenge, it was good for the mind, it was good for the body. And I did it, I completed it, and I missed it, and I still kind of miss it, because it was a way to relate to other people. Not only was it, gym exercises, so to speak, like you usually see with physical therapy, it was group sessions. You'd do things in the morning with the group. You'd have talks, you'd have yoga, you'd have a crazy thing, meditation, all kinds of breathing exercises. I could go on and on now that it's coming back to me where it's been so long. But I really missed it once I left, but I was in a far better way physically. Later in 2007, I reapplied at the place that hired me in 2005, and they hired me for a second time. And finally, I was back into the workforce, again, for a multi-billion-dollar media company, which was pretty cool. I excelled at the job. I was promoted within 2 months, and I thought everything was well. In May of 2008, I injured myself on a poorly maintained parking lot speed bump. It wasn't a cement one like you'd normally see it at a workplace, an apartment complex, and so on and so forth. It was one of those yellow plastic jobs that was put in with screws and nuts and bolts every year. And I walked over it, and I stepped on it, and the nuts and bolts went flying everywhere, and luckily I didn't fall, but the large orthopedic boot that I wore on my right foot, where it looked like RoboCop, was destroyed. The straps came off, and I kind of crunched where my leg goes into my foot down by my ankle. At that point, I tried to get back into work. I tried to use string to try and put the boot back together again, but no luck. I was in bad shape. My work forced me to take an ambulance to the Melrose Wakefield Hospital, where they did nothing for me besides throw away my boot, and they sent me home in a sock, which I have a lot to say about Melrose Wakefield Hospital, just north of Boston. And I was in the emergency room twice within 3 days. I did go back to work the day after the accident on crutches, and I had to go buy a pair of sandals. I have wore summer sandals year-round since 2008, even in these nice, beautiful Boston winters we have. Then I woke up on the third day, and I couldn't get out of bed. It felt like my left foot exploded. I had to crawl downstairs, get a ride, go back to the Melrose Wakefield Hospital that, again, did nothing. As far as my medications go, I had reached a plateau. I still took a large amount of prescribed narcotics, but it was nice to say, okay, this is it. And my doctor and I had even discussed decreasing the amount of medication I was taking. But after this incident, which did more damage than we had any idea happened, it wound up starting to increase. I was taking every month, literally hundreds of Percocets, hundreds of Valium, amongst other medications I needed for a variety of issues, all because of this incident as my health deteriorated. I have to say my work tried to work with me as much as possible. One thing they did, they adjusted my schedule for 90 days to try and for doctor's appointments, for the foot issues. My back started to flare. And I have to say thank you where thank you is due, but it was not made permanently. It was only made for 90 days, which really led to more dissension, let's just say, that didn't need to be there in the first place. I believe if a company is responsible for hurting you, they work with you to try and resolve the issue. But again, that is another point that my former employee and I disagreed on. Let's see, where did I leave off here in my notes? I tried to work through it. Why? People might say, why didn't you go find some sleazebag lawyer and walk around in a sling and crutches and so on and so forth? When I was initially injured, I lived in bed for over a year. Not lived in bed, but I spent 90% of my time or so just laying there because that was the only position I could be in a comfortable manner. And it was very depressing. I wanted to continue to work. And I did that until March of 2009, where again, much like May of 2008, my left foot just exploded. And I woke up out of the blue, ready to scream. Went back to the Melrose Wakefield Hospital emergency room, a complete waste of time. I missed a week of work, which I now know I should have been paid for. And I couldn't walk for the better part of 6 weeks, but trying to show work ethic, trying to show character and pride, I worked through those 5 weeks with a purple foot that I had to slide through the business that I worked at. And I give myself a pat on the back because no one else does. I lived in serious, horrible pain until my body finally gave out. My primary care doctor, who has been about the only advocate that I've had through all this, sent me to a renowned foot specialist in May of 2009. So I thought, we're finally getting somewhere. Okay. The day before the appointment, I was getting ready for work, trying to make myself as good as I could to be prepared for the day, and what happened, I get a call from the doctor's office. I thought it would be the typical reminder that you have an appointment tomorrow at 1 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. Instead, it was someone from that office informing me that the appointment was going to be canceled because my employer's workers' comp insurance company would not pay for the appointment. And we're going to get far more into that as the program progresses, but if I wasn't able to rectify this situation by the end of the business day, they were going to cancel my appointment because this doctor is so booked up. So I went into work, I emailed my manager, my supervisor, even the director of the site that oversaw 400 or so employees, with basically a 911, Houston, we have a problem. And we had a problem. I don't remember who, but one of the three was able to get me the contact information of someone from their insurance company to speak to. I called them on the phone, and they told me that I did not exist to them. I said, how is that possible? They said, because your employer told us to close out your claim on June 30th, 2008, nearly a year before. Again, very confusing, but this was done. Someone in my employer's human resources department told their insurance people to close out my claim without speaking to myself, my supervisor, or my manager. You talk about a major disconnect along the lines right there. That is probably, I didn't know it, but one of the worst days of my life, considering everything that happened following that. So it began a battle with my employer's human resources department getting involved, their insurance company getting involved. Some of the leadership in human resources in the area came to meet with me. It was not a pleasant meeting, to say the least, because if there is one thing that can be said about this hardworking disabled American, he is a very outspoken, blunt individual when it needs to be said, and it was said. But they tried to set up an IME. An IME is the biggest crock of you-know-what on the face of the planet. And IME stands for, in injury terms, an independent medical exam. These people, these doctors, quote-unquote, they're not even real doctors in my opinion, but basically, they are paid by these insurance companies for you to go there and for them to write a report about what your injuries are. Now think about that for a minute. Just say, I don't know, I don't want to make up a company, and just say, we'll just say this TV station. Just say Boston TV had an injured person, hurt, the camera fell on them. They had to go to a doctor, where Melrose Television was sending them employee after employee, year after year. Now, to keep the bankroll rolling, do you think the insurance company is going to want to A, receive an honest report, or B, do you think they're going to want a report that benefits them? The answer is obviously B, which is why you don't hear about many of these stories on newscasts or in newspapers, because these insurance companies, much like they are when they give nice little donation, quote-unquote, handouts to government officials to write laws that benefit them, it's the same thing with the media. They try and buy off the media by running expensive advertisements. Does that benefit hardworking disabled Americans? Absolutely not. It's a scam, it's a crock, and folks like myself and probably you have their lives screwed because of it, sometimes for years, at least in my case. All right, continuing along with the story though, my employer, when we met with the HR, told me it was simple as filling out a form with the Injury Commission in Boston. I did that. I went in by myself, again, trying to show my company that I wanted to work with them instead of against them. I did not retain an attorney at the time. I went alone into this mediation against the insurance company's attorney. There was a mediator from the state, And she quickly closed the case at that point with the ability for it to be reopened anytime for life. She wanted me to have equal representation, which was nice of her, but I had over 50 documents in print showing exactly what happened, and it didn't take a rocket scientist to see where everything stood. But I didn't deal with many rocket scientists, let's put it that way. So I had to go back to work in physical pain, getting nowhere. There was resentment towards HR. I know my manager and my supervisor were very stressed out by having to put so much time and attention into one employee. It was difficult for me to concentrate on my work as much as I had because I had this lingering over my head. It affected my personal life as my lovely femme fatale did not agree with my approach towards trying to handle the situation, which was, again, continue working, trying to work with my employer instead of against them. She wanted me to just put my foot down, no pun intended, and go for the jugular. But again, that's a different story for a different time as well. Like I said, it wasn't pleasant to walk into a hostile situation every day. One thing they did do was they continued, as my doctor provided them notes and letters, they continued to give me more breaks, extended breaks. I was given a 20-minute break every 90 minutes, which I think is unheard of in any workplace, which again to me says, you know, we're guilty, we're sorry, this is what we can do for you. Again, during one of these HR meetings, my employer even admitted that it was their fault. They admitted it in a group meeting with the regional HR manager, the local HR person, my manager, and myself. They admitted that they screwed up and did the wrong thing June 30th, 2008 by closing out the claim. So why was this left in my lap? What was I? A hard-working, disabled American. That's all I wanted to do was earn an income, take care of my family, go about life. Was I able to do that? No, because they allowed their landlord to turn the parking lot into a complete another shithole every fall when the speed bumps would begin to fall apart, every winter when they'd take them down and they wouldn't treat the parking lot, every spring when they'd continue to fall apart again. It was a complete and utter shithole, and I say that for the online version. It's an embarrassment that this continued for, I mind you, 4 years. Again, more than meets the eye when it comes to that. Where are we now in the notes? So it's 2009, everything sucks in life. Work sucks, my health sucks, my personal life sucks. I'm not getting the treatment I need because no one wants to pay for it. My insurance that I had, my personal insurance that I had through work, they didn't want to pay for someone else's mess, which, you know, from a human perspective, I have to understand they weren't responsible for it. But I fell into a deep depression with everything that was going on. Everything in my life was going down the tube. So my goal was to try and work as much as possible to distract myself. As the parking lot continued to be a dump, I was told to email leadership every time there was a problem with whether it be a speed bump, the handicap ramp, email them so they could open a trouble ticket with the landlord. Now, if this happened on a Friday or on the weekends or something like that, who the hell was going to read the trouble ticket? Once this whole mess goes on, I would love to know who is going to count the number of trouble tickets that were open, because I'm actually very curious. Because they went unanswered and sucked, to be blunt. Anyway, 4 years worth of emails to leadership about their dump of a parking lot that fell apart or wasn't treated. Anyway, I finally got to go and see the foot doctor that I was supposed to see in May of 2009. Wonderful woman. I wanted to kill her with some of the tests she put me through, but in the middle of one of my CRPS flares, she diagnosed that I had CRPS. She saw my foot actually change colors as I took about 10 steps through her office, and she had some x-rays done and so on and so forth. But at the end, she diagnosed me with CRPS, which is complex regional pain syndrome, which is about the worst pain on the planet that there is no cure for right now. I guess it's new to the injury, diagnosis, however you want to call it, whatever system it may be, there's no cure for it right now. And when that pain flare hits, it's a suicidal pain. I mean, I've had to walk not only with a cane, but on crutches, with a granny walker. It's just, I can't explain the pain. Hopefully, well, I don't want another attack, but if there is another attack, I want to videotape that as well. I'm going to put some pictures up just to show you how big the foot can get, how purple it can get, how it changes colors, just even throughout the day. I mean, you lay in bed, just every time your heart beats, it hurts. Pain shoots through your body. You think about, my God, if I could just go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy a saw and cut my leg off, I would feel so much better. These are honest thoughts. I mean, you look at bottles of pills that you have to take, you say, my God, if I took 30 of these, would it knock me out? Would it kill me? And so on and so forth. I don't even want to go to some of the depths that I've been through, but they've been pretty dark at times. I continued to work, because that is me. In March of 2010, again, I couldn't take it. My body gave out on me. For 5 days, I tried to work. 5 days. I went through pain like you couldn't believe. When I was almost crying every time I just moved sitting in my desk, to the point where my new supervisor and my manager were basically taking me by the hand and telling me to get the hell out. It was terrible. It was inhumane. You want to talk about inhumane? I went out on short-term disability. And what happened? I was denied the short-term disability insurance I got through work by the same scumbag insurance company that was supposed to cover the accident. And they said the reason they were denying this was because I did not need my feet to do my job as a commercial account executive. I couldn't walk. I needed to crawl to get downstairs if I needed to at my house and get downstairs on my ass. But I didn't need my feet to do my job. So it turned into a war of words. I do have to give my employer credit. They had some of the employee relation folks higher up on the food chain get involved who would have telephone meetings with me. They were very nice. They really sincerely tried to help. But in the end, they couldn't do all that much because it had reached the state level. Again, that had nothing to do with me. It was their fault. My employer admitted it was their fault when we met with the Human Resources Regional Manager, the local HR person, an employee manager, and myself. But again, it all fell into my lap. In addition to everything I had to deal with, I had to do their job, and I was pissed off about it. Very pissed off about it. I'm pissed off even thinking about it right now. Unicolai has left the room. He's so aggravated with me right now. But you know what? I'm used to that. I'm still waiting to tape the B-roll. But anyway, so I went back. I think it was Mother's Day I wound up going back, because they told me in the end I wasn't going to get paid. I could stay out. They had enough empathy for me where they said, you can stay out as long as you want to, but you're not going to get paid. Well, I needed an income. Here I was expecting to be paid for this time missed with the short-term disability that I had, and instead, I got nada. I got nothing. So I went back in early on, I think it might not have been Mother's Day, but it was a Sunday in May, and I sat down at my desk, I looked at a picture of the kids, and I said, you know what? F them. So I wrote a long, detailed email to the president of the company in New England, the vice president of the company in New England, and all of the local and regional folks that were involved in HR and management and supervisors. Anyone that had touched it was emailed, a monster of an email that I took about 5 hours to write. I spent a great deal of time making sure all the details were precise. I sent it off, and to their credit, both the president of New England and the vice president of New England both responded to me the same day saying they were going to look into it and follow it up, and they never did. And I spit on them for that visually. That's disrespecting me as a human being. And I hope, as cruel as it sounds, that someone in their family has to go through what I go through so they can relate back to the email that I sent them that was pages long, highlighting how the company that they were the president and the vice president of screwed me over. Think about that. Anyway, it turned into a hell of a week. Monday I had to call out, I was in so much pain. Tuesday I go in. They had these little computerized simulations for me to try and catch up to speed on all of the different computer formats we use. I fell asleep at my desk for 90 minutes and no one woke me up. I was laying there drooling and no one came to wake me up. Granted, I worked a couple of hours earlier than most folks did, but that was embarrassing to me. Then Wednesday I come into work. My manager calls me in. He says, hardworking disabled American, you can't work today. We never got your doctor's release for you to work, which was faxed, my God, I don't know how many days beforehand, just to release me so I could, again, have an income. How are you going to not let me work on a Wednesday when I was already there Sunday, scheduled Monday, and there Tuesday? Again, complete and utter stupidity. I was forced to leave after just getting there on this Wednesday. On the Thursday I came in, and it was like the angels above were looking out for me. The site director was waiting at my desk. She was all excited to see me. She said the woman from Employee Relations wanted to speak to me on the phone immediately. I went and called her from my manager's office, and she told me that, she said they'd love to have me stay and work, but if I wanted to go home paid while they continued to look into the case, they would do so. So I was paid at my full rate to go home while they researched it for 2.5 weeks. Ultimately, in the end, that's when we got to the point where it said we reached the state. There wasn't anything more they could do. But I appreciate those two women, what they did. Even when we had to go to the state for mediation, for a file I claimed charged against them, you know, I sincerely thank them for what they did, and I appreciated it. They went out of their way to really spend time on my case. One of them called me at, I think, 10 o'clock on a Friday night to talk about it. And you know what? It's a shame that a place that I enjoyed working at so much and was very successful working at turned into such a nightmare, but that's how it went into 2010. I tried to have a follow-up appointment with the foot doctor that diagnosed me with the CRPS, but I couldn't get an appointment with her. Why? Because she had a war with my employer's insurance company to try and get paid. Beyond my copay, my personal insurance wouldn't pay for it now, so they had to deal with employer's insurance, who ultimately paid for it in the end. I don't know how they can deny any wrongdoing, because they've paid for doctor's appointments, they've paid for ambulance rides, they've paid for emergency room victims. So if my employer's insurance company denies any claim or any payment towards all this, why did they pay for certain things but not other things? Especially after my employer admitted they were wrong. I need a time check, because it's going to get more heated as time goes on. Where are we at right now? He's entered the room again. 25 minutes. We still have 5 minutes to go. Let me try and spit as much out as I can. So 2010 was a miserable year, but at least there was some news where, again, it was CRPS that was affecting my feet and my ankles. January of 2011. Again, I mentioned earlier the trouble tickets that were open with the landlord. Well, in January 2011, I went out. One thing I would do on all my breaks was try and walk to keep my neck and my back loose, so I could work. You know, I needed to keep everything as loose as possible. I went out for my walk and I slid down the handicap ramp like Clark Griswold in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation when he went on the sled. And to say I was not happy when I returned to the building is an understatement. I sent a trouble ticket email to my manager, who responded to me saying that my reference to watching Kool and the Gang not shovel sand all the ice and snow that was out during this storm was inappropriate. Now, this is where the disconnect came with my own manager, who I still believe was a good guy, that was just tired and sick of this situation, or overwhelmed by it, or dealing with political things with it behind the scenes that I didn't know about. But, you know, I was injured enough where I had to go back to the emergency room again, taking time out of my day again losing hours at work again. And the one thing he pointed out was where I said that my tone was always in question. My tone by people that sanded the parking lot hours or days after it needed it, cooling the gang in the middle of an email sent in anger and resentment. That was what he focused on. So, hey, whatever. Big time meetings went on with management between January and March. It got kind of nasty. I couldn't walk again, so I went out on short-term disability. This time, believe me, I did not try. I did not even try to work an hour past the foot explosion. I didn't know them anything at that point as they raked my life over the coals. Screw them. I don't have a problem saying that. There was a problem, though, when I went to file the short-term disability claim. The same bitch that refused me in 2010 was assigned to me again. And I started a firestorm like you wouldn't believe about that, and she was quickly removed from the short-term disability process, and I didn't go through any denials in 2011. But, and this may be the point where we might need to stop, the day I was supposed to return to work, legally, I quote-unquote resigned, but I was told not to come back. All I wanted to do was get healthy, work, provide for those that I provided for, and live life pain-free. And one of the most important parts of my existence, which was my job, was taken away from me. For scum, for people higher up on the food chain that screwed up big time, and no one wanted to take the bullet for it, for what happened June 30th, 2008. For a billion-dollar public employer that decided to side with the scumbags they chose to insure their employees instead of someone that was hurt while working for them, while trying to make their company a better place, earn income for that company more than I earned, because that's the nature of the beast. You're supposed to provide more for the company than what you are paid. That's what a business is. I don't regret that. I don't regret anything I did about this, other than maybe not getting legal representation earlier in the process. But time check, please, sir.
Just about 30 minutes.
Just about 30 minutes. We're going to wrap up episode 4 right now. There's a lot more good stuff to come, including the attack on Social Security disability, which is coming, and the DVDs that are going to go out. Is this hardworking disabled American might not be able to work anymore until he has his spine fused, but I will proverbially stand up and tell the story the way it needs to be told. Until next time, stay strong, disabled America.